reconnaissance unit to Afghanistan or to Iraq for the invasion. And before that, I worked on my grandparents' farm, and I made about $5 an hour, working 90 hours a week. That's all I'm gonna get, $5 an hour from here until I'm 30. So I have to wait for somebody to die to, step up. So when I was deployed, everybody I was with told me that I should do something different with my family's farm, like sell fruit baskets, like Harry and David. But we don't have fruit year round, so that was like a big problem. So they suggested to make value-added products like jams, jellies, and salsas. So I thought that was a great idea. They were all from like Baltimore, New York, all the guys I was deployed with. And they're like, farmers markets are starting to grow real popular in our neighborhoods and stuff like that. You should try to get into farmers markets. So when I came home, I pretty much, I had a good bit of money saved up because you can't spend any while you're in a third world country too much anyway. So I came home, blew all my money partying, just like everybody else did. Then realized, what am I going to do now? So I got a Capital One credit card. My grandparents had a truckload of peaches that we were just going to throw out in the woods and let the deer eat them. So I decided I was going to drive to Gourmet Central and get something made out of them, which is about 20 minutes from my house. And I went there, got peach jam made, and just a couple weeks later, at my grandparents' fruit stand on Route 50, sold every jar. In just like maybe 2 to 3 weeks. So I got peach jam made again, and then I got apple butter made, and sold it all before Christmas. It cost me around $3 a jar to get made, and then we were selling it for $5. But I mean, I didn't have to do anything except
drive it over.
To drive it over and pick it up and set it to the fruit stand. So I realized, this is pretty good. So. I started thinking about getting to the farmers markets, and I went to my old ag teacher, and he told me that somebody I went to school with married a person that goes to the farmers markets in DC, that I should just stop by and talk to him. So I went over to his farm, and they were washing cucumbers. So I just get in line, start working, and I started asking him questions, and he told me, I'll help you to get into markets, or tell you which ones to try to get into, and I'll give you advice, the best I can. So the next year I applied to 3 markets that he suggested, and I got into them, and then I started growing vegetables, plus with my grandparents' fruit that they already grew on our farm. So I got into 3 markets that went really well, selling the jar products. Then time went on, I got into a couple more markets, and then I dropped the smaller ones and just kept moving my way up, getting into bigger markets and diversifying myself. Like Dale was talking, seeing what my friend told me was see something somebody's doing and make it better. So, doesn't matter who it is. Time went on and we started getting more products made with all the different things that we grew, like Tomatillo Salsa. Tomatillos, I think, it tastes horrible. But you can turn it into a salsa and people go crazy for it. So, and we actually had that in Whole Foods in the Mid-Atlantic region. So I started doing that, got into more markets. Then my reserve unit asked for volunteers to deploy again. So I actually left everything and went back to Iraq for another year. And my dad took over getting the jars made, going to the 3 markets that we were in. And then I came home and just, that's all I did then was farmers markets, make myself better. And now we're in 8 markets in DC. Like today we're at the White House Farmers Market. We're at Old Town Alexandria, which is my biggest market. Crystal City, Arlington, Leesburg. And then, I guess 2 years ago, I ended up being Gourmet Central's largest customer. And Christy, the Chef Harv's wife, after he passed away, she inherited the business. And she wanted out and asked us if we wanted to take it over. So And before that, we were actually throwing the idea around of trying to do this on our own, and looked at the numbers and what kind of building we would need, and it just didn't seem like it was a good idea to just start out for us. But it might be different for other people, but for us, it was, this is, you know, we have to do this. This is the next step. So now we manufacture for about 150 to 200 people. We have about 90 products. We just got picked up by Walmart of all of West Virginia just in the past couple weeks with 14 products. I was in
Walmart. Now that's a big box store, isn't it?
They take the same pieces. Yeah, but it's only just in West Virginia. I think at 36 stores.
What kind of volume would you expect out of coming out?
We have no idea since it's so brand new. Like they just called us yesterday that some stores are sold out totally, and some stores are so-so. So we're supposed to know in the next couple of days, like what's supposed to take place.
Are they showcasing as West Virginia made?
They are. They have a West Virginia made sign.
Yeah, we saw
Okay.
Kroger's. We're in Kroger, Walmart and Kroger's.
Okay.
Are you getting the price from them? Are you, because of volume, are you adjusting that to the?
They were back and forth a whole lot of different phone calls on price, like wanting 10% off for this and 10% off for that, and I just stuck with
What you
what I knew I needed, and this is what it is. Like you want it, you can get it. Yeah.
Calvin, when we had that value-added grant, I was talking about Rita Riesick, who from Lawrence Farms, who brought onions that were seconds, and she worked with Calvin and they made a relish. This is the guy that actually made it happen. You know, helped with the recipe and stuff like that. One of the stories that you tell, which I just think just shows how aggressive you are, how insightful about how to work with people, is when you went around your town there and the whole area and found outlets. You know.
Right. Like when I first started out, we're selling stuff in beauty salons, gas stations. Like my friends, they come up to me and like, man, I see your stuff in every place you can stop. Like we're in gun shops. Any place at all that can sell something, we're trying to get our stuff in there. I heard some of you all are ag teachers or part of like with the school and stuff. To get my plants started, I actually work with Hampshire High School. I pay for all the supplies, and then I go to school more now than I did when I was in the school. We're like in January and February. I'm at the high school 3 days a week, starting seeds with all the kids. You know, showing them like we're gonna plant this time, and then 3 weeks later we're gonna restart this. You know, so they get to see the whole process. And that's actually where I found my best market help, was going to the high school, seeing who works, who doesn't.
I got $5 an hour.
Right. The first girl that started working for me, her name was Kendra. The ag teacher told him, we're gonna start cleaning up outside. Everybody else just kind of sat there, and she runs over with this rotten carton of milk, just oozing, just sour. She's like, what do I do with this? And Mr. Paul's like, I'll take it to the dumpster later. She's like, I'll take it. So she takes off running with it. She comes back. I was like, do you want a job? She's like, yeah. I was like, all right, Saturday morning, 2 o'clock, my house. Because when we go to Alexandria, we leave at 2 in the morning to get down there and set up, because the market starts at 7. So it's a long day.
Do you, there are 2 farmers markets in Morgantown.
Right.
And there's a significant difference. If a farmer goes, there's a real differential between what they can charge at one and what they can charge at the other. Do you in DC, is that pretty much socioeconomically homogeneous, or do you have different?
We have different prices for
the
different locations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the further that we go into DC, usually the more that we can charge for things. like Sterling, Virginia, like we do a market there on Sunday. It's definitely a tough market because you have a lot of people that sell there that sell things for less than what we would like to. So you gotta like be competitive on price, but we're still higher than most people just because we try to take the best stuff we can. Like this is a ramp vinegar that we sell in DC for $10, and there's 2 ramps in there. Just to show you like some value-added stuff.
White bag?
Yep, just regular vinegar and 2 ramps, $10.
Do you make the vinegar?
What's that?
Do you make the vinegar?
No, we do not.
So you just get like the plastic
2 rings
gallons
and 6 down in there.
That's right.
2 rings.
That's correct. Yeah, and the Washington Post is crazy about ramps. Like they put out 3 articles in April about ramps. So everybody comes to the market and they just jump on them. Like, and then everybody knows the family member that eats ramps. So now they're, feel connected. And it's real important too to have a good story to go, with your farm. Like what makes your farm different? What makes you different? You got to build a desire for people to want your product. Like they just can't live without it. So on the side of every one of my jars it says, while deployed in Iraq, I shared stories about my family's farm and simple way of life. Inspired by my family's history, my fellow Marines encouraged me to jar our farm's products and share with the world. When I returned home, the Big Rigs line of products was born. God bless America. And that's one of my selling points is I have a big sign too that we put out at the market. You just have to build that desire and connection. And like my Saturday market at Alexandria, if I'm not there, people are actually sad. Like my customers, they'll like come up and they seriously don't spend as much when I'm not there at the market. Like, yeah, they really do.
You are also part of the product.
Right.
Like Lee Jones is part of the product.
Right.
With his
Like Senator John Warner comes probably every other weekend to the Alexandria Farmers Market, and he will find me himself. Like, even if I'm at another vendor, like he'll make sure I'm there, like, and then buy stuff. Like, all right, man,
Did you get
whatever.
that ramp oil?
What's that?
Did you get that ramp vinegar?
I don't think he's bought that yet. I heard y'all talking about farm to school. Last year we started trying to sell our stuff to the school system in Hampshire County. There's 9 schools, and I knew some of the cooks from when I went to school, and I talked to them about it, and they just like getting whole vegetables. They weren't like fans of the whole vegetables. So with us having a kitchen, I was like, man, how am I going to get, myself in there versus somebody else? Because we actually have the largest vegetable farm, Spring Valley, which is the largest vegetable farm in West Virginia, which is about 5 miles from us. So, I mean, if the school called him, he could just, probably just, everything you need right here. So with the kitchen, I actually offered to slice all the vegetables and then deliver them to the schools. And they just love that. We sold them squash, zucchini, peppers, cucumbers, and that's about all that I had last fall for the schools. But it went really well. After the 3rd week, the first week, it was like, what am I doing? Like, because I got 9 emails from different schools, and they have their menu pre-planned, so I had to figure out when to deliver the meal for Monday, for Tuesday, Wednesday, and then a couple schools, like, they didn't have a certain thing, so they'd have to change their menu, so their delivery day would be a different day. So it was, but then after the 3rd week, it kind of got a lot easier once we've been around it a few times. Because I've knocked on so many doors and been turned around so many times on just trying to sell people stuff or, working with people, and you just got to keep going. And then finally, some guy was at the meeting. He was in charge of the DC, whatever that was, you know, like, all right, I'll talk to you. So, I didn't know if it meant like the DC stores or whatever, but he's in charge of the distribution center for Whole Foods. And he said, call me. He gave me his card and said, call me. I talk to all kinds of people and they tell me to call them, but then you call them and they never, you know, like, or like, call me in 3 weeks. Like, okay, you know, like, you don't want to talk to me. So I was like, when do you want me to call? He said, tomorrow. Like, all right. So then I call him, talk to him, and then I figure out, oh, he's in charge of the distribution center. And he said, I'll take 1 pallet of each of 8 products. Just like that. So, yes. I mean, just, you know, luck of the draw, like being at the right place at the right time.
Would you private label for schools?
Yes.
Like, with the school name?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we private label our products for places like the Greenbrier, the Homestead.
You've talked about what you've done, but the Gourmet Central, that business is largely canning stuff for other people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like right now we have, like Orr's Orchard brings us a lot of strawberries this past week. They brought us apples. It was in CA. We're making apple butter for them all week long.
I was just gonna ask about pricing. One question we get, you know, how do you figure out what to charge for your stuff?
Which part?
Just any of it. You know, do you look at your cost and then calculate from there, or do you go market price?
Right. I price my stuff on what I need to get out of it, and then look around and see, like, you know, am I competitive or am I too much, or yeah. Like with Gourmet Central, a lot of farms bring us their produce, and then we have a spreadsheet that we price everything, like how much it costs to puree the apples, to cook them and puree them. And then that gets calculated into how many pounds they brought. So it just, like, typically for somebody to get apple butter made, it's maybe like $260 to $325, just depending on what they want in it and how much they bring, how much apples they bring. And then pricing my stuff at the markets is just like looking around and just seeing what other people are charging. And then, like with Walmart and Whole Foods, I actually found out what everybody needed to make. So then I adjusted my price on that. So with Whole Foods, I actually made more from Whole Foods because their markup allowed me to, because I didn't have a distributor to work with. Yeah, we have about 90 products that we manufacture now, recipes that are approved to manufacture. So if you have a recipe that's close to one of ours, you can use ours, or we can have yours approved
But that's
to
a
manufacture.
complicated process.
It takes a little bit longer, yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things that you guys have told me when we did the value-added grants and things like that is that if people really look at all of your recipes, they're probably going to come across one that's so close to what they have
Right.
that it's.
I mean, it's hundreds of recipes that we have that's okay to use.
The other thing about going through your place is the insurance piece.
Right, we cover, every jar's covered, I think with a, I can't remember now. I know it was $1.5 million liability coverage on everything that we manufacture. And that's covered with us.
So that all of that liability is assumed, and you don't, and all of the liability falls to Gourmet Central, and that means you don't have to.
And then we know all the FDA regulations on labeling. Like this is a base label that I had printed in Pennsylvania. So it just has our logo, my story on the side, and contact information. And then we have a thermal printer that can print the product and all the ingredients. So I only have to have one label, and then I can print everything else on it for all our different products.
So
and then, yes?
Barcode?
Yeah, we have barcodes on everything.
Well, and Teresa Halloran at the Department of Agriculture, but also you guys give advice on the artwork itself, right?
Right.
On making the label. So not only can you design it to be printed with all of those pieces, but actually give some, for lack of a better word, graphic design and
Right.
art.
And then certain things have to be in certain places, like how much it weighs has to be visible from the front. There's certain size fonts, things have to be on the label. And Amber, she's the one that answers all the phone calls and knows exactly all the details on that.
Market over the internet at all?
We have 2 websites, one for Gourmet Central and then one for Big Rigs.
So you take orders off the
We
website?
do.
Before you took over Gourmet Central, were you doing this?
I got my first jars made in 2004, and then we bought Gourmet Central 2 years ago. And like coming up with new ideas for things to sell, like I had a bunch of tomatoes I didn't know what to do with. Everybody has a pasta sauce. I mean, it's just, you can get pasta sauce at any place. So I talked to Chef Harp, that's who owned Gourmet Central at the time, and he suggested we make Bloody Mary mix. So we made that, and instead of throwing my tomatoes out or selling them for 15 cents a pound in seconds, we actually get around $6.50 a pound out of our second tomatoes, selling them in Bloody Mary mix. And it was featured in the Washingtonian as the best buy of the week a couple years ago. And then I was also published in Michelle Obama's book that she came out last year.
Which thing, the Bloody Marys or something else?
No, it's just for being at the farmers markets and being innovative, just diversifying myself from other farms. I forget how many farms that they said that they interviewed, and I kept getting emails like, okay, you made it to the next process. I need you to fill out this form. Like,
Right.
okay. So then it just kept going like that, and then they asked for my address so they could send me a copy. So I was like, does that mean I'm in it?
You have to have a story, or you're really selling yourself, or the idea that it's important that you go out and engage the customer, and Calvin is saying the same thing, and you can't possibly have any doubt that he's able to do that, given the way he's able to engage this group, and he has an interesting thing to say. But, being able to talk about your family and your family farm, and this is my grandmother's recipe or my great. Well, there's also, wasn't one of your first recipes your great aunt's? Or
Yeah, it was my great grandmother's apple butter recipe is the one that we used.
What's up and down the line there? What did you?
It's a spicy honey mustard pretzel dip. That's a mouthful. Peach blackberry, strawberry biscuit fixer, hot pepper jelly, peach emerald pecan, peach salsa, sauerkraut, but we aged for 21 days. Chocolate covered cherry, apple butter, peach butter, tomatillo salsa, ranch barbecue, awesome sauce, which is a buffalo ranch dressing. We made a wing sauce first out of our onions, and I had my friends over, we're eating wings, dipping it in ranch. It tastes really good, so I was like, why don't we just put wing sauce and ranch together and then sell it that way. So we made it, had everybody over again, we're eating wings, and my buddy looks at me, he goes, I don't know what this is, but it's awesome. So I was like, you just named it. Apple cinnamon syrup, which tastes just like apple pie filling. Hillbilly holler hot sauce, sweet and sassy barbecue, sweet fire, which is a hot sauce, garlic wing sauce, ranch dressing, which is one of the products that only has an 18-month shelf life. Then a steak sauce, spicy peach barbecue, wasabi ketchup, ramp vinegar, and peach daiquiri mix.
You said like pipeline. Are you still cryovacuuming sliced apples?
No, not right now.
Okay.
No.
You use their recipes because your farm product is different. It's going to have a different and distinctive taste. Shepherdstown is really about an hour from what I know of the geography. About how far are you, how long is it for you to get into the DC area?
It takes about 2 hours. Yeah. It's like 112 miles to Alexandria for us.
And at the time of day that you go in, you're not having.
There's no traffic at
Yeah.
2 in the morning.
Unless you're going there.
Right?
So what time do you leave the market?
What's that?
What time?
Oh, Alexandria goes from 7 in the morning till noon.
So how about when you leave?
When you're leaving, it's a little bit worse. I mean, you just have to listen to the radio and hear what traffic, because there's 3 options to get home. So you just try to pick the best one.
Finding a place, finding a niche, and continuing to reinvent, and how do you shape it a little bit different?
Community 101 consulting with anybody who wants to do a private label product?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
His business partner, right?
Right, Trey.
Trey. And so if you have technical questions, I think in large part, if you want vision and marketing and branding, that Calvin is the person to speak to. And if you want to know what the exact amount that the insurance certificate calls for, or what the amount of pounds is the minimum, then call Trey.
Trey, right. And then also Amber, she's been there for a long time too, and she can answer a lot of questions too if you can't get a hold of Trey.
So you can, but we bought the whole package is the point I'm trying to make, so they differentiate their expertise, and that makes your phone call that much more efficient.
Actually contacted by Washington State. They pretty much told me they'd give me a building to start an operation out there, but it was just, we had just bought Gourmet Central, and I met them at the Fancy Food Show, and at that time it was just, there was so much going on that it wasn't.
I think you said something when you bought it, you looked into what roughly, what startup costs if somebody wants to start a small processing facility like that?
I mean, I had no idea, because we bought the one that was already established. When we were doing the numbers, a building that we would need, like $300,000 for a building. Then the equipment, we probably were in like maybe 150 on that. And then there's a lot of things that I'm sure I'm not even thinking of. Like just to have the recipes approved to manufacture. We sent ours away to University of Nebraska. That's like $150 a piece, times 100.
When you say get your recipes approved, does that mean that they tell you what the shelf life is going to be of that?
They'll tell you what the shelf life is going to be, what the water activity is, and what the pH level is. For things for WVU or West Virginia, they want things to be 4.2 or lower on the pH. The federal guidelines is 4.6. I don't understand that one, but yeah.
Which one do you follow?
We try to get everything in the 4.2. Yeah. And then the water activity has to be a certain level, and I can't remember what that needs to be.
Being an aggressive marketer, the reason it was successful was because Harv was such a pusher, and because he's followed by someone else. Facility has absolutely no value unless you have really aggressive people going out and recruiting. It was Harv and Calvin who made this a success. So if we put one in Charleston, there's no guarantee, unless you have somebody like that driving it.
Our facility has to have at least one person that's certified with Certified Foods. Has to be there anytime there's anything being done. So, and I just know that like in Pennsylvania, they've tried doing like little starter kitchens where people can rent and stuff, and they just don't really go nowhere because there's nobody there that's all the time and that's, I guess, trained on all this.
Do you have room for more product and more folks that want to have food processed?
Yes, or 24/7.
Do you sell many value-added products in school?
I heard somebody say about the cherry pie filling. We actually manufacture that.
Okay.
Right.
That's Jim LaFew.
Jim LaFew, yep.
Yep.
Yep. And then I sold applesauce to the Hampshire County schools this past fall. And I also sold applesauce to Arlington County schools 2 years ago when they were doing a program.
That was something too. Jim LaFew will drive product up there
Right?
and then drop it off, and then he picks product up from you and then drives it back.
Right?
And that's from Charleston all the way to
Right.
where you're at. And
Yeah, it's just taking all these pieces and just trying to fit them together.
Yeah.
The ProStar teacher in Tucker County just got the USDA certification for certified goods. And I know that I've been talking to him, trying to figure out whether or not he can do that in his classroom and sell either in the school.
Right?
I don't know about that, but I know that he could sell to restaurants.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I know that we have the federal inspectors come to our kitchen once a year. You know, they can walk around and check everything, check all our paperwork that we're writing down, where all the ingredients come from.
Okay.
So I don't know
I
what.
think the issue is that food prepared in a certified kitchen can be sold to restaurants, it can be sold to farms, it can be sold all kinds of places. But that's different from bottling it and selling it that way.
Well, I know, but he's got the USDA certification for certified goods.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have the issue is that he wouldn't have the recipes approved. The fact that he
But I think
has
he
a
could.
Huh?
But couldn't he do that?
Yeah, you
Well, he
could.
could.
Yeah,
No,
definitely.
I'm not saying that he couldn't, I'm just saying that those certifications wouldn't come, nor would any insurance come with that. Any other questions? Well, that was a